The alien queen dismissed human warriors as fables until she came face to face with one. The Zalarian Empire stretched across countless star systems, a dazzling network of planets, moons, and artificial habitats that shone like a web of jewels in the dark ocean of space. At the center of this empire sat the Queen's throne world, a planet of towering crystal spires and shimmering skies, where every step echoed with the weight of history and power. The Xylarians were a proud and meticulous species, their culture built on logic, discipline, and an unshakable belief in their own superiority. From her throne of polished white stone, the alien queen observed the galaxy with eyes that reflected centuries of conquest and wisdom. Tales of human beings had reached her ears long ago, carried by merchants, travelers, and spies. Each story spoke of tiny, fragile creatures with curious minds, living on a pale blue planet orbiting a modest sun. Humans were described as brave, clever, and stubborn, a mix of traits the Xylarians often considered amusing. "They are myths," the queen said to her council one morning. Her voice, soft but resonant, filled the vast chamber. "Stories told by frightened colonies about creatures that could never match our strength or intellect. They cannot survive in the stars. They are fables, nothing more." Her advisors nodded. For them, humans were an entertaining subject of conversation, a minor curiosity in the grand history of the galaxy. They studied the reports carefully, yet none had ever seen a human with their own eyes. The queen dismissed them with a flick of her hand, turning back to her holographic star charts. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, on a small planet bathed in sunlight, humans continued their quiet, persistent existence. The colony of New Horizon had been built on the edge of human-explored space, far from Earth and its bustling cities. Life here was hard, resources were limited, the climate unpredictable, and the environment filled with unknown dangers. Yet humans thrived, adapting to every challenge with a mixture of ingenuity and determination that often surprised even themselves. Kale, a young human, stood at the edge of a plateau overlooking the colony. His brown hair blew in the wind, and his eyes, sharp and bright, scanned the horizon. He was training as he did every morning, practicing agility drills and mental exercises designed to push his body and mind to their limits. Unlike many of his peers, Kale had a fascination with the stars. Since childhood, he had listened to stories of human explorers and warriors who had ventured beyond the known planets, facing challenges that no ordinary person could imagine. He leaped over jagged rocks, rolled across the dusty ground, and calculated each landing with precision. The morning sun cast long shadows, and the chill of dawn bit at his skin, but he welcomed it. Discipline, he knew, was as important as courage. "Kale," a voice called. It was Lyra, his closest friend and training partner. She jogged up the slope, a small smile on her face. "You're going to wear yourself out before the sun is even high." "I need to be ready," Kale replied, panting slightly. "We've heard rumors about the Zalarian fleets moving closer to human space. If they're curious about us, I want to be ready for anything." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Ready? You can barely keep up with me in the drills, and now you want to face Xylarian fleets." Kale grinned, brushing dirt from his sleeve. "It's not about facing them yet. It's about knowing we can." This determination was common among humans. Despite their relatively small numbers compared to galactic empires, they carried a spark, a refusal to accept limits, a belief in their own potential. Stories of human ingenuity traveled slowly across the stars, sometimes dismissed, sometimes admired. For Kale, those stories were a call to action, a challenge he could not ignore. Back on the Xylarian throne world, the Queen's day was filled with audiences, diplomatic briefings, and the ceremonial duties of ruling an empire. Every visitor, every ambassador, knelt in her presence, offering gifts and reports. Yet the Queen's mind often drifted to the stories of humans, though she refused to admit it. She was certain that if humans existed beyond the tales, they would be weak and unorganized, a species unable to unite or survive the harshness of space. Still, curiosity lingered. The Queen had always been a strategic thinker, a species capable of surviving in multiple star systems, even if small, could not be ignored entirely. For now, humans were a topic of amusement, but she allowed herself to wonder if there was more to them than fables suggested. On New Horizon, Kale returned to the colony after his morning training. The settlement was small but efficient, with modular buildings clustered together for protection and convenience. Solar panels and wind turbines glinted in the sunlight, evidence of human innovation in a challenging environment. Colonists bustled through the streets, repairing equipment, tending small gardens, or preparing supplies for exploration missions. Kale entered the central hub where the colony's leadership gathered. Commander Arlen, a seasoned human who had seen more planets than most could imagine, was speaking with engineers about the new scout drones. When he saw Kale, he waved him over. "Kale," Arlen said, "you've been training hard. Good, you'll need that discipline. We have reports of Zalarian movements near the border. Nothing hostile yet, but it's close enough to take seriously." Kale nodded. "What do you want me to do?" "For now, observe and learn," Arlen replied. "We need scouts to understand what they're capable of, and if the human stories are true, then it's time we prove that our species is more than legend." The weight of responsibility settled on Kale's shoulders. He was just one human among billions, yet he felt the spark of something larger, the chance to represent his species in a galaxy that barely believed in them. That evening, Kale and Lyra sat atop the colony's observation tower, looking at the stars stretching endlessly above. The glow of distant worlds painted the night sky with streaks of light, some natural, some artificial. "Do you really think humans can make a difference?" Lyra asked quietly. Kale didn't answer immediately. He traced the paths of distant ships moving slowly across the void. "We already have," he said finally. "Every time we survive, every time we create something new, we prove that humans aren't just stories. We adapt, we endure, and when the time comes, we'll show the universe what we can do." Far across the galaxy, on her throne world, the alien queen watched a holographic map of human-colonized space. She touched the image of the tiny blue planet, smiling faintly. "Fables," she murmured. "Yes, fables, but perhaps it is time to see if myths can walk among the stars." And so, the first threads of destiny began to weave together. A human ready to face challenges far beyond his world, and an alien ruler intrigued by a species she had dismissed for centuries. The galaxy, vast and unpredictable, held its breath, waiting to see what would happen when humans stepped beyond the margins of legend. Kale trained harder than ever, preparing not only his body but his mind for what was to come. Every sunrise brought new exercises, every evening new reflections on the stars and the stories of his people. In the quiet moments, he imagined the challenge ahead, not as a mission, but as a test of what it meant to be human. Somewhere in the endless dark, the Zalarians would soon discover that myths, when alive and determined, were more formidable than any empire had imagined. And the human spirit, small but fierce, was ready to meet the universe head-on. The human reconnaissance ship Endeavour drifted silently through the dark expanse of space, a small glimmer against the vastness of stars. Its engines were quiet, almost imperceptible, designed for stealth. Inside, Kale and a small team of human scouts prepared for a mission that could decide the fate of their colony, and perhaps the reputation of humanity itself. "Kale," said Lyra, checking the navigation panel, "this is farther than we've ever gone. The sensors show a fleet ahead. Zalarians, definitely. Their numbers, it's large." Kale leaned forward, eyes scanning the holographic display. The Zalarian ships moved with elegance, their shapes sleek, almost like giant metallic birds. Each craft reflected light from distant stars, creating the illusion of shimmering wings. Stay calm, Kale said. We're not here to fight, we're here to observe. We need information, not a battle. Lyra hesitated, then nodded. I trust you, Kale, but if we're discovered, we'll adapt, Kale said, his voice steady. He had learned long ago that humans survived because they adapted faster than anyone expected. That ability, more than strength or numbers, had allowed their species to endure against harsh worlds. The team moved carefully, using asteroid fields as cover. Their ship was small but advanced, outfitted with cloaking technology that could hide them from sensors, at least temporarily. Kale's mind raced as he studied the Zalarian formation. These aliens were efficient, precise, and confident, but even in their perfection, he searched for a flaw. A human always looked for a way forward. Hours passed as the Endeavor drifted closer. Kale's team recorded data on the Zalarian ships, their movements, and the technology they carried. Everything about the fleet spoke of discipline, yet Kale noticed a rigid predictability. Humans, he thought, could use that against them if the need arose. Suddenly, a soft alarm beeped. Sensors picked up movement, Lyra said, her voice tense. They're scanning nearby, Kale frowned. They haven't detected us yet. Stay quiet, follow my lead. A larger Zalarian cruiser moved closer, scanning the asteroid belt with beams of light that could detect even the smallest human vessel. Kale's team froze, hearts pounding. The ship's cloaking system worked, but only just. One wrong calculation and the humans would be exposed. Kale took a deep breath. We need to stay calm. If we move slowly and steadily, we can pass unnoticed. Follow me. The Endeavor drifted, weaving between asteroids, using shadows to mask their presence. Every movement was calculated, precise, and careful. Kale's heart beat fast, but his mind stayed clear. Humans survived dangerous situations not by avoiding them entirely, but by thinking, adapting, and acting decisively. Despite their care, a sudden Zalarian sensor sweep caught part of the ship's signal. We're detected, Lyra whispered. They know something here. Kale acted quickly. Divert energy to the cloaking field and initiate evasive maneuvers. Trust me. The Endeavor shivered as its engines adjusted, small bursts of light propelling it into a narrow crevice between two massive asteroids. The Zalarian cruiser scanned repeatedly, but the humans had disappeared from its sensors. Kale let out a quiet sigh. We've bought ourselves time. Now we need to gather the crucial data and retreat. No mistakes. Hours turned into a tense game of hide-and-seek as Kale's team moved closer to the Zalarian command hub, a massive ship at the center of the fleet. The humans studied it from afar, mapping its structure and recording signals. Every detail mattered. Humanity's survival depended on understanding the aliens before anyone else made a dangerous assumption. Suddenly, the unexpected happened. A patrol ship broke from formation and approached the Endeavor. Its sensors were far more advanced than anything the humans had faced before. Kale's team scrambled, but the patrol's speed and precision were unmatched. Kale knew escape was no longer an option. Prepare for capture, he said calmly. We cannot fight them, but we can make an impression. The human ship's shields absorbed the first pulse of energy from the patrol ship, then another, and another. The Endeavor shook under the force, metal groaning as it struggled to maintain integrity. Kale's fingers flew across the control panel, redirecting energy to shields and engines. Brace, he shouted. The ship shuddered violently as the Zalarian patrol ship locked onto them, pulling them out of the asteroid field with precise tractor beams. In moments, Kale and his team were aboard the Zalarian ship, surrounded by beings taller than humans, with sleek metallic skin that reflected every light source. Their eyes were sharp, calculating, and unblinking. The humans were restrained, not harshly but firmly. Kale remained calm. He knew panic would make them appear weaker. He looked at the lead Zalarian officer, noting every detail, the elegant uniform, the deliberate movements, the confidence in their stance. You are humans, the officer stated, voice smooth and cold. Curious, fragile, why do you enter Zalarian space? Kale straightened. Exploration, he replied. We mean no harm, we only seek to understand. The Zalarians paused, seemingly amused by the boldness of such small creatures. Then, without further words, they transported the humans to the central command hub, where the alien queen herself awaited. The throne room was massive, unlike anything Kale had ever seen. Towers of crystal and metal reached toward the ceiling, and holographic projections of star systems rotated slowly in the air. At the center, the alien queen sat, her presence commanding, her gaze both regal and piercing. "So the myths are true," she said softly, almost to herself. Then her voice rang out clear and strong, addressing the humans directly. "You are not just stories, you exist." Kale met her gaze without fear. "We are human," he said simply. "We survive, we adapt. And we face challenges no matter how large they seem." The queen raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "You speak boldly, small creature, yet you stand here alive in my presence. Why should I believe that your kind is more than fable?" Kale thought for a moment. "Because we've made it this far despite countless challenges. We've explored, learned, and built in ways that many would have thought impossible. Our stories are not just tales, they are proof that we endure." A murmur passed through the queen's attendants. Even in the grandeur of her court, humans were unusual, bold, unafraid, adaptable, traits that the Zalarians themselves valued but seldom in a species so small. The queen studied Kale carefully. There was something different about him, something that did not bend under intimidation, something that radiated confidence without arrogance. She had encountered countless species, many of them advanced in technology, but few possessed the quiet strength that humans carried. "You will remain here," she said finally. "Not as prisoners, but as observers. I wish to see if the legends of humanity are true. Perhaps the stories are not entirely false. Perhaps they are warnings to those who underestimate you." Kale nodded. "We will do our best to show you the truth." As the humans were led to quarters within the Zalarian ship, Kale could feel the weight of the moment. This was the first direct encounter between humans and the queen herself. Every observation, every word, every action would be noted and remembered. And Kale understood that the future of his species might hinge on how humans acted in the days ahead. That night, Kale looked out at the stars through the transparent wall of his quarters. He could see his home planet far in the distance, a small blue dot in the endless black. And yet, he felt a surge of determination. Humanity had survived storms, darkness, and isolation for thousands of years. Now, facing an empire that doubted their worth, they would show that courage, ingenuity, and resilience were not just traits, they were a legacy. The alien queen in her distant throne room pondered the small humans before her. She had dismissed them as fables, incapable of challenging her empire. But one glimpse of Kale, standing firm and unwavering, planted a seed of curiosity in her mind. Perhaps, she thought, these creatures were more than myths. Perhaps they were something to be reckoned with. And so, the first steps of a deeper encounter began. Humans learning, observing, and surviving within the very heart of the empire they had once believed unreachable. Kale understood that the real test was only beginning, and that myths, when alive, could change the course of history. The alien queen's command hub was a marvel of technology and elegance, a place where the stars themselves seemed to bend in reverence to her presence. Kale had spent 2 cycles aboard the ship, observing, learning, and trying to understand the creatures he had once dismissed as merely distant and alien. Now he found himself summoned to the throne room once more, a place of crystal light and rotating star projections that made even the vastness of space seem smaller. The queen regarded him quietly as he entered, her gaze assessing, unyielding. "Kale," she said, her voice like polished metal and flowing water combined, "you have survived your first encounter with my fleet. You have observed and you have not fled. This is unusual. Kale bowed lightly, a sign of respect he had learned was expected, even among alien rulers. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said. "We only seek understanding. We do not intend offense." The queen's eyes glinted with something closer to amusement than contempt. "Understanding, yes. Yet stories of your kind suggest more than observation. You are said to possess adaptability, resourcefulness, and courage, all traits rare among creatures so small. I intend to test these traits, Kale. You may call it trial, challenge, or game. It matters not. Show me whether the myths hold truth." Kale felt a spark of determination. A test was precisely the kind of situation where humans often excelled. Where others might rely on brute force or rigid strategy, humans thrived on creativity, improvisation, and teamwork. "I will do my best," he said simply. The queen gestured and the chamber transformed. Walls of crystal panels slid aside to reveal a vast arena floating in zero-gravity space. It was a breathtaking environment, both beautiful and intimidating. Platforms hovered in midair, suspended by energy fields. Obstacles shifted constantly, and holographic images simulated dangerous conditions. Storms of electric energy, fluctuating gravity, and sudden walls of light. "You will navigate this arena," the queen explained. "Each obstacle tests your mind and body. Fail, and you return to captivity. Succeed, and you may earn knowledge of value beyond your imagination. Show me what humans are capable of." Kale took a deep breath and stepped forward. The arena responded to his presence, its shifting platforms rising and falling as though aware of his movements. His first challenge appeared, a series of floating energy barriers, each pulsing with intensity. One misstep and the barrier would push him off the platform. Kale measured distances, timing each leap with careful calculation. He ran, leaped, and landed on the first barrier. Then the next, and the next. His heart raced, but his mind stayed calm. The queen watched silently, her eyes narrowing in interest. Humans, she thought, seemed to rely less on raw strength and more on precision and thought. When he reached the final barrier, a sudden gust of simulated wind pushed him backward. Kale adjusted instantly, twisting in midair to grab a nearby floating platform. He landed safely, his chest heaving, yet his focus unbroken. The next test was even more complex. A puzzle of rotating platforms and shifting pathways appeared, requiring not only agility but problem-solving. Kale moved quickly, using his understanding of patterns and physics to predict the platform's movements. A misstep could send him falling into a holographic void, yet he persisted, recalculating and adapting with every shift. The queen tilted her head slightly, her voice soft but audible. "Fascinating. Humans do not rely solely on reaction, but on anticipation and learning. Even in unknown environments, they adjust." Kale felt the weight of her observation but continued without hesitation. Each challenge tested different aspects of his mind and body: memory, strategy, agility, and patience. When a sudden holographic barrier attempted to separate him from the rest of the arena, Kale used ingenuity to combine floating debris with energy fields, creating a bridge to cross safely. He paused for a moment, recognizing that the queen's trials were designed to observe, not necessarily to destroy. Every time he adapted, she observed, noted, and calculated. The queen's curiosity grew with each success. After hours, or perhaps it was minutes, time seemed irrelevant in the arena. The final challenge appeared. A holographic simulation of the human colony itself manifested in the center of the arena, surrounded by dynamic energy patterns. The task was clear. Kale needed to navigate through hazards, rescue simulated colonists, and restore stability to the environment. Kale's mind raced, but he recognized the strategy immediately. He began directing his movements, prioritizing efficiency and safety. When a simulated bridge collapsed, he used nearby energy platforms to create a new path. When a holographic storm threatened the colony, he diverted energy to stabilize the structures. Each action combined physical agility with rapid thinking, demonstrating a unique quality. Humans not only adapted but actively improved situations under pressure. The Queen's attendants murmured in astonishment. One whispered, "The myths, they are real." The human does not simply survive, he enhances his environment. Kale completed the simulation, standing atop the final platform as the holographic colony stabilized. His breathing was heavy, but his resolve was stronger than ever. He looked toward the throne where the Queen observed him. "You have done well, human," she said, her voice carrying an uncharacteristic note of respect. "You have survived challenges that would overwhelm many species. You do not merely endure, you adapt, you think, and you act with courage. Perhaps the stories are not exaggerated after all." Kale nodded, not out of pride but in acknowledgement of the Queen's recognition. "We are humans," he said simply. "Adaptation, ingenuity, and courage are what keep us alive, and what allow us to explore, learn, and survive, no matter how impossible the situation may seem." The Queen's eyes glimmered, reflecting a faint light from the arena. She had studied countless species, yet humans were different. They were not the fastest, nor the strongest, nor the most numerous, but they possessed a combination of traits rare in the galaxy: intelligence, creativity, and an unyielding spirit. Traits that often turned the tide of history in ways empires could not predict. "Impressive," she said finally. "Your performance has proven something significant. Humans are not insignificant creatures. They are capable, clever, and resilient. And perhaps, one day, they may influence the course of galactic events far beyond their home worlds." Kale felt a mix of relief and pride. He had survived the tests not through force alone, but through patience, strategy, and adaptability, qualities that defined humanity. And in doing so, he had begun to change the Queen's perception of his species. Yet the challenges had not ended. The Queen stood, her presence commanding, and gestured toward a massive observation chamber filled with holographic projections of human history and technology. "You will remain here, human, not as a prisoner but as a participant. There is more to learn, more to prove, and more to observe. Your kind has potential beyond imagination, and I intend to see how far that potential can reach." Kale looked at the holograms, seeing the span of human achievement: cities, colonies, scientific discoveries, and explorations of space. He realized that the Queen's curiosity was genuine. She had dismissed humans as myths, yet here she was actively observing their accomplishments, fascinated by what they could achieve. Lyra approached him quietly. "Kale," she said, "this is incredible. She's actually impressed by us." Kale nodded. "It is. But we cannot stop here. Humans have always done more than survive. They have grown, innovated, and pushed boundaries. This is our chance to show that even a small species can make a difference in a galaxy that doubts us." Over the next cycles, Kale continued his trials. Each challenge was different. Some tested physical prowess, others mental acuity, and some even moral judgment. He faced simulated disasters, complex problems, and scenarios designed to push him to his limits. Each time he adapted, learned, and overcame, demonstrating the versatility and resilience of humanity. The Queen observed closely, sometimes speaking, sometimes silent, but always calculating. The small human before her was not merely a curiosity. He was a representation of a species she had long dismissed. And with every success, her respect for humanity grew. Finally, after what felt like days within the arena and chambers of challenge, Kale stood before the Queen once more. He was tired, physically and mentally, yet he remained composed. "You have done more than I expected," the Queen said. "You have proven that humans are not fables. They are capable, clever, and courageous. They are more than their size, more than their numbers, and more than the stories that dismiss them. You have made your kind impossible to ignore." Kale bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We are humans. Our strength comes from our ability to adapt, to think, and to face challenges together. It is what has allowed us to survive and to thrive even in the harshest of environments." The Queen regarded him for a long moment, silent. Then, almost imperceptibly, she smiled. "Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to see humans not as fables, but as a species worthy of attention. You have shown me that one human can change the way the universe sees them all." Kale felt a surge of determination. The real test was not merely survival. It was proving that humans had a place among the stars. And for the first time, he sensed that the alien queen herself might become an ally, or at least a witness, to the potential of humanity. The calm that had settled over the Xylarian command hub was deceptive. Though the alien queen had observed Kale's trials and demonstrated a growing respect for his species, the true test of human worth was yet to come. And that test arrived without warning. A sudden alarm echoed throughout the ship. The lights pulsed from white to red, and holographic panels flickered with urgent notifications. Kale, who was walking with Lyra through one of the observation corridors, immediately froze. "What's happening?" Lyra whispered. Kale peered at the display panel. "Structural instability, core energy fluctuations. It looks like a malfunction in the main energy conduit. If it isn't controlled, the entire hub could collapse." The alien queen herself appeared at the end of the corridor, her presence commanding immediate attention. "Explain this," she demanded, her tone both calm and forceful. Kale stepped forward. "There's a malfunction in the central energy system. If it continues unchecked, it could disrupt the hub and endanger everyone on board. I can help stabilize it, but I'll need access to the control panels and support from your engineers." The Queen's expression was unreadable. Her species valued control and precision above all else, and a human suggesting they could assist in averting disaster was unusual, to say the least. "You would intervene in our technology?" she asked, her voice measured but skeptical. "Yes," Kale said firmly. "I've studied your ship and your systems while observing. I understand the logic behind your energy conduits, and I can help stabilize them." A murmur ran through her attendants. It was unheard of for a human to not only suggest solutions, but to approach problems proactively in such a high-stakes situation. The Queen studied Kale, weighing the risk. Finally, she nodded. "Very well," she said. "Demonstrate your capability. But know this, failure is not acceptable." Kale and Lyra were escorted to the central control chamber. The room was massive, filled with complex holographic panels and floating energy conduits. Engineers, Xylarians who had once doubted the humans, watched closely, some with curiosity, others with thinly veiled skepticism. Kale took a deep breath. "First, we need to redirect the core energy through auxiliary conduits to prevent overload," he instructed, pointing to sections of the holographic display. "Then, we stabilize the flow using phased modulation. It will buy us time while we correct the primary system." Lyra followed his instructions, adjusting control nodes under Kale's guidance. The Xylarian engineers hesitated at first, unsure whether to follow a human's lead. But Kale's calm authority and clear reasoning convinced them to cooperate. Slowly, the core's energy levels began to stabilize, and the alarm subsided slightly. The Queen observed silently, her eyes narrowing in intrigue. She had dismissed humans as fables for centuries, believing their small size and limited technology made them insignificant. Yet here was a human orchestrating a solution in a situation that had challenged the very heart of her empire. "Redirect the secondary conduits now," Kale said. "Careful, don't exceed the modulation threshold. Timing is everything." The engineers moved with precision under Kale's instructions. Panels hummed, energy streams shifted, and the core stabilized further. The flickering lights steadied. Kale felt a surge of relief but did not pause. "Now phase the main energy field," he continued, "and apply the containment matrix." The queen leaned forward slightly, watching every motion. For the first time, she saw human ingenuity in action, not as myth or story, but as tangible capability. The room filled with a low hum as the systems responded to Kale's adjustments. Slowly, the energy conduits aligned and the threat of collapse diminished. The engineers looked at each other in astonishment. One whispered, he actually understands it. How is this possible? Kale's calm determination and methodical thinking had turned potential disaster into manageable control. With each adjustment, the hub's stability increased, and the alarms returned to normal green light. The Queen finally spoke, her voice carrying a note of acknowledgement. "You have done what few, even among my own species, could have achieved," she said. "Your courage and intellect have prevented catastrophe. You have proven that humans are not merely survivors but problem solvers, capable of confronting challenges far beyond their apparent strength." Kale allowed himself a small breath of relief. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Humans survive because we face challenges, not run from them. We learn, adapt, and find solutions even when situations seem impossible." The Queen regarded him for a long moment. "Remarkable," she murmured. "Your species may be small, but it possesses qualities that cannot be ignored. The myths, the stories, they do not exaggerate human potential, they merely hint at it." Lyra smiled at Kale quietly. "You did it," she whispered. "You actually stabilized the hub." Kale nodded. "We did it. Humans can do more than survive. We can make a difference even here." The Queen's attention shifted back to the energy conduits, now fully stabilized. "This demonstration has taught me something vital," she said. "Humans are not weak. They are not to be dismissed. Your adaptability and ingenuity are a resource that even my empire cannot overlook. Perhaps it is time we reconsider our perception of your species." Kale realized the gravity of the moment. The alien queen, the most powerful being in the galaxy, had witnessed firsthand the effectiveness of human problem-solving, creativity, and courage. It was a turning point, not just for him, but for all of humanity. But the challenge was not over. Kale knew that survival and recognition were only part of the story. To truly prove humanity's worth, they would need to demonstrate foresight, cooperation, and innovation in a situation that required quick thinking and ethical judgment. The next test arrived sooner than expected. A sudden system-wide energy surge threatened multiple sectors of the ship simultaneously. Alarms blared, lights flashed, and engineers rushed to respond. The situation was more complex than anything Kale had faced before: simultaneous failures, shifting priorities, and high-stakes consequences. Kale took command without hesitation. "Lyra, prioritize the sectors most at risk. We need to stabilize the primary energy flow first, then contain secondary surges. Everyone else, follow my instructions and focus on coordination. Speed and accuracy are critical." Zalarians hesitated at first, unsure whether to take guidance from a human. Kale spoke with authority, explaining the logic behind each step clearly and methodically. Slowly, the engineers began to follow his instructions, trusting his reasoning. Kale coordinated the response with precision. He identified critical nodes, calculated optimal energy flows, and assigned tasks to each engineer. The situation was tense, every second counting, yet Kale's calm reasoning guided the team. Lyra worked tirelessly alongside him, adjusting conduits and monitoring feedback loops. Kale noticed that humans and Xylarians working together created a synergy neither species had anticipated. By combining the Queen's technology with human intuition, they achieved results faster than either could have alone. Minutes passed like hours. Sweat and concentration filled the chamber. Then, finally, the energy levels stabilized across all affected sectors. The alarm ceased, lights returned to a calm green, and the threat passed. The Queen's gaze softened slightly, her tone carrying respect rather than curiosity. "You have done more than save the ship," she said. You have demonstrated leadership, coordination, and innovation. Humans do not simply endure, they enhance, improve, and protect. You have turned potential disaster into triumph. Kale allowed himself a small smile. That is what humans do, Your Majesty. We survive, we learn, and we work together. That is our strength. The queen stood, stepping forward from her throne. Remarkable, she said again. You have changed my perception of humanity in ways I could not have imagined. Your species is no longer a myth. It is a force to be acknowledged and respected. Perhaps one day, humans will be more than observers in the galaxy. They may shape its course. Kale felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The trials had been more than physical or intellectual. They had been a demonstration of human character, ingenuity, and unity. And the Queen, the most powerful being he had ever faced, had recognized it. As Kale and Lyra left the control chamber, they felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity's place among the stars was no longer uncertain. They had proven that courage, intelligence, and teamwork could overcome even the most formidable challenges. Kale looked at Lyra, determination in his eyes. "This is only the beginning," he said. "We've shown them what humans can do. Now we have to continue proving it every step of the way." And somewhere in the observation balcony above, the alien queen reflected quietly. She had dismissed humans as fables, believing them fragile and unremarkable. Yet one human, standing firm and acting decisively, had changed everything. Perhaps it was time to reconsider the role of humans in the galaxy, not as myths, but as allies, innovators, and beings capable of shaping the future. The stars outside the ship twinkled endlessly, and Kale knew that humanity's journey was only beginning. The challenges ahead would be greater, but with courage, ingenuity, and determination, humans could rise to meet them and prove that even the smallest species could leave a mark on the universe. The stars outside the Xylarian command hub shimmered silently, as if watching the events unfolding within. Kale stood in the central observation chamber, alongside Lyra and the rest of the human team. The Queen had given them unprecedented access to the inner workings of her empire, testing not only their abilities but also their judgment, creativity, and courage. Yet despite all the trials, Kale knew that the greatest challenge was still to come. A sudden alert flashed across the chamber. Red warnings illuminated the room, casting stark shadows over the intricate technology surrounding them. Kale moved quickly to the main console, scanning the reports. "An unknown energy surge is spreading through the sector," he said, voice tense but steady. "It's destabilizing multiple star systems simultaneously. If we don't act quickly, entire colonies could be affected, both human and Xylarian." The Queen appeared beside him, her expression unreadable. "You understand the situation?" she asked. "One false move could cost lives." Kale nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. But humans are capable of rapid adaptation. We can assess, plan, and act faster than it may seem. We must coordinate our efforts immediately." The Queen studied him for a moment, then gestured. "Show me what humans can do, Kale. Lead the way." Kale turned to his team, issuing clear and precise instructions. Lyra and the others moved efficiently, following his guidance. Even the Xylarian engineers, now accustomed to his leadership, awaited his decisions with quiet anticipation. The first step was to stabilize the energy surges in the closest star system. Kale examined the data, identifying the critical nodes that were causing the instability. "We'll need to redirect the energy flow through auxiliary conduits," he explained. "Then we can phase the primary energy streams gradually to prevent catastrophic overloads. Timing is crucial." He moved quickly, assigning specific tasks to both humans and Xylarians. The team worked together, combining the ingenuity of humans with the advanced technology of the Xylarians. Kale's strategy relied on observation, anticipation, and innovation, the very qualities that had always set humanity apart. As they worked, Kale noticed that some of the Xylarians were skeptical, questioning the human methods, but he spoke calmly, explaining each step logically and clearly. "Trust the system," he said. "Adjustments must be precise, but they are possible. Focus and we can stabilize the sector." Minutes passed, feeling like hours. Energy streams pulsed dangerously, but Kale's guidance kept the team coordinated. Slowly, the readings began to stabilize. The red warnings dimmed to orange, then green. Lyra smiled briefly. "It's working," she whispered. "We're actually making a difference." Kale allowed himself a moment to acknowledge the progress, but he knew their work was far from complete. "This is only one sector," he said. "We have others to stabilize. Stay focused." The team moved to the next sectors, each with unique challenges. Some required delicate adjustments to planetary shields, while others involved rerouting energy through previously unused conduits. Kale's ability to think creatively, to see solutions others overlooked, allowed the humans and Xylarians to act faster than the crisis had anticipated. Throughout the operation, the Queen observed silently, impressed by the humans' calm under pressure. She had always valued intelligence and efficiency, yet humans demonstrated something different: courage in uncertainty, flexibility in unpredictable conditions, and a willingness to take calculated risks for the greater good. "Remarkable," she murmured to herself. "Even with limited knowledge of our technology, they adapt, they overcome, they lead." Hours passed as the humans and Xylarians worked tirelessly. Kale coordinated, analyzed, and adjusted, ensuring that no error went unchecked. Slowly, the energy surges diminished, and stability returned to each affected system. The final warning lights flickered and vanished, leaving the galaxy quiet once more. The Queen finally spoke, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Kale, you have done what few of my species could achieve. You have saved lives, stabilized star systems, and demonstrated the unique capabilities of humans. Your courage, intelligence, and leadership have not only averted disaster, but have proven that your species is capable of far more than I ever imagined." Kale felt a deep sense of accomplishment. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Humans survive, adapt, and work together. That is our greatest strength. We may be small, but we act decisively and creatively when it matters most." The Queen regarded him thoughtfully. "I dismissed your species as fables, as myths unworthy of my attention, yet one human has changed that perception. One human has demonstrated that legends may carry truth, and that potential lies within your species." Kale smiled faintly, not out of pride, but out of understanding. He had always believed in the strength of humanity, in the power of intelligence, courage, and cooperation. Now the most powerful being in the galaxy acknowledged it as well. The Queen stepped closer. "I offer you and your species recognition. Humans are no longer to be seen as fables or myths. You are observers, innovators, and partners in the galaxy. You have earned our respect." Kale's heart swelled with pride, but he remained humble. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We will continue to prove that humans are worthy of this trust, not for glory, but to ensure that our species can contribute to the greater good of the galaxy." The Queen nodded, a rare smile gracing her face. "Your words are as impressive as your actions. Humans may yet shape the future of the stars in ways we cannot yet imagine." News of the humans' success spread quickly throughout the Xylarian Empire. Kale and his team were hailed as heroes, not merely for their survival, but for their ingenuity, leadership, and courage under pressure. Stories of their actions traveled faster than the speed of traditional communication, inspiring admiration and respect across species. Kale returned to his quarters briefly, exhausted but exhilarated. Lyra joined him, her expression reflecting the same mixture of relief and excitement. "We did it, Kale," she said softly. "They finally understand. Humanity isn't just a myth." Kale nodded. "It's just the beginning. We've proven that humans can make a difference, but we have to keep showing it. Every choice we make, every action we take, will continue to shape how the galaxy sees us. Over the following cycles, Kale and his team worked alongside Zellarians to establish cooperative projects. Human innovation combined with Zellarian technology produced unprecedented advancements, new methods of energy stabilization, more efficient starship designs, and safer planetary colonies. The once dismissed species now had a voice and a seat at the interstellar table. The Queen observed these developments with quiet approval. Humans had proven themselves not by force or numbers, but through adaptability, intelligence, and a willingness to act courageously. They had taken every challenge seriously, yet acted with ingenuity and cooperation, qualities the Zellarians valued deeply. One evening, Kale stood on the observation balcony, looking at the stars stretching endlessly before him. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Lyra asked, joining him quietly. Kale nodded. "Every day, we went from myths to being recognized across the stars." But the real achievement isn't recognition. It's knowing that humanity can contribute, can make a difference, can protect and improve the galaxy around us. Lyra smiled. "And we'll continue to do it, right? Every step of the way." Kale's gaze swept across the horizon, the faint glow of distant planets reflecting in his eyes. "Every step," he said. "Humans survive, adapt, and rise to challenges. That's what makes us strong. That's what makes us human." Far above, in the grand halls of her throne world, the alien queen reflected on the humans before her. She had dismissed them as fables, believing them weak and inconsequential. Yet one human had proven the opposite. Kale had demonstrated courage, intelligence, adaptability, and leadership that could influence not only humans but the galaxy itself. The Queen's voice, soft and thoughtful, echoed in the chamber. "Fables no longer. Humans are a species of potential, a species that will shape the future of the stars. And one human has shown me the truth." Kale's journey and humanity's recognition had reached its first great milestone. But both knew the galaxy was vast, full of unknown challenges, opportunities, and adventures. Humans had proven themselves, but the stars held more than recognition. They held discovery, responsibility, and the chance to leave a lasting mark. And so, Kale returned to his colony, celebrated not just as a hero, but as a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and perseverance. The alien queen, once dismissive of the myths, now regarded humanity as a force capable of shaping the galaxy. In every corner of the cosmos, humans were no longer mere fables. They were explorers, innovators, problem solvers, and heroes. And one human, standing tall in the face of the impossible, had changed everything. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready to step into its place, bold, inventive, and unyielding. The stars twinkled endlessly, and Kale smiled. The legend of humans was no longer a story, it was reality.